Good evening, everyone. On behalf of the League of Women Voters of the Morris area, the Morristown Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority, Inc., and the Daily Record, part of the USA Today New Jersey Network, I'm pleased to welcome you to our Denville Township Board of Education Forum. My name is Corey Pruitt, and I'm a member of the League of Women Voters of the Morris area. I recently moved to Denville about a year ago, and I have come to love this vibrant community, not to mention the delicious food options around town. The LWV is a nonpartisan political organization, and therefore we never support or oppose political parties or candidates. Elections and voting are our core concerns, and empowering voters, defending democracy is our mission. We are committed to providing fact-based information about issues and positions, and the positions that those candidates take on the issues to help voters understand and make their own decisions and participate in the electoral process. Membership in the League is open to all ages and gender identities. We welcome volunteers, whether or not you are a member. With 100 years of experience, the League is one of America's oldest and most trusted civic nonprofit organizations. I'd like to welcome our co-sponsors for this debate, Kimberly Monroe, president of the Morristown Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority, Inc., to say a few words for us this evening.
Good evening. I am Kimberly Monroe, the president of the Morristown Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated is a 501c7 nonpartisan organization and does not endorse candidates or political parties. We are an organization of college-educated women committed to the constructive development of its members and to public service with a primary focus on the Black community. We provide an extensive array of public service initiatives through our 5-point programmatic thrust of economic development, educational development, physical and mental health, international awareness and involvement, political awareness and involvement. Delta Sigma Theta was founded at Howard University and has been committed to service through social action since our founding in 1913. Our 22 founders participated in the suffrage march of 1913, just 2 months after establishing the sorority, and our members have been at the forefront of social and political struggles ever since. As part of our political awareness and involvement thrust, the alumni chapter is engaged in voter registration, education, and motivation and mobilization. In Morris, Sussex, Warren, and Huntington counties. We would like to thank the League of Women Voters for inviting us to co-sponsor the Denville Township Board Candidates Forum. We look forward to a healthy debate tonight with our candidates.
Thank you, Kimberly. Thank you. And now we'd like to see Bill Westhoven of the Daily Record. Would you like to say a few words?
Good evening. Just so folks know, the Daily Record has covered Morris County since the year 1900, so that's 124 years. These days, we are part of the USA Today network in New Jersey, which includes the Bergen Record, Passaic Herald, New Jersey Herald in Sussex, Courier News in Central Jersey, Home News Tribune in Middlesex County, and the Asbury Park Press. We're very proud and happy to co-sponsor this and other debates with the League of Women Voters and other co-partners. And just so everybody knows, while we do cover Morris County and Denville, I've been with the paper for 30 years. We will not be making endorsements. With that said, thank you for the participants, and good luck to the participants.
Thank you very much, Bill. We encourage everyone to go to vote411.org, a one-stop site for information on all aspects of voting in New Jersey, including statements on the issues from your candidates. And please also visit our website to learn more about the Morris Area League, which is www.lwvmorrisarea.org. Also, on Tuesday, October 29th, we will be holding a Morris County Commissioners debate at 7 p.m., which can be viewed on our YouTube channel. Remember to make sure your vote counts. There are 3 ways to vote. Vote by mail ballot if you signed up for that. Early in person using a voting machine on October 26th to November 3rd at 1 St. Mary's Place, Township of Denville, and in person on Tuesday, November 5th. This forum is being live streamed on the Morris Area LWV YouTube channel and will be available there for viewing afterwards. Other language captions will be available for viewing after today. We encourage the sharing of the league's recording of this event in its entirety, but do not allow editing or making public any excerpts from the recording. The league name, logo, event recording, or any materials from the event cannot be used in any way that could lead a viewer or reader to infer league support of or opposition to a candidacy. At this time, I would like to introduce our moderator, Nicole Platt. Nicole is a league-trained moderator who is not from this voting district. She will introduce the candidates and outline the format for this evening. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Corey, and good evening, and thank you for taking an interest in this candidate forum for the Denville Board of Education. Our candidates tonight, in alphabetical order, are David H.F. Luer, Mr. Clifford Moore, who is an incumbent, and Ms. Christina Astorino, who is not able to participate tonight. The format tonight for our two participating candidates is this. Each candidate will make a 2-minute opening statement, and I'll read the absent candidate's opening statement. I will then ask each candidate one of our previously solicited questions from the public, from the league, and from our co-sponsors. And each candidate will have 1 minute to answer each question. After both candidates have answered, if they want a rebuttal, there's the opportunity for a 30-second rebuttal. The candidates haven't seen the questions in advance. After we have gone through our questions, each candidate will deliver a 2-minute closing statement. I've asked already the candidates to keep an eye out for the timekeeping, which we enforce. In those times that I've given, the timekeeper will give a 30-second warning when there's 30 seconds till the end, as such. And when the candidate's time has expired, it will say stop. The candidate is encouraged to finish their sentence, but not start a new thought or a new sentence. And with that, I thank you very much. And I think we're ready to begin with our candidate's opening statement. And again, in alphabetical order, we'll start with Mr. David H.F. Luer. Please, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Ms. Platt. My name's Dave Luer, and I am running for school board for several reasons, not the least of which is that I think I'm the best person for the job. There are 3 major issues that I think Denville is facing. One of them, of course, is budget. Everybody's facing a budget issue. We're facing a buildings issue. We're likely to not have enough room for to keep our classroom size, and a busing issue. We have been forced to let out at least 3 routes to another company. And more about me, I served 2 terms on the school board previously, 2016 to 2022, before, during, and just after the pandemic. And I'm looking to get back into the swing of things because I still have a child in the district. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now we'll go to Clifford Moore.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much. Clifford Moore. I ran about 3 years ago when my eldest son started kindergarten. This was just when the COVID restrictions ended or were beginning to end. And there was so many rumors and a lot of craziness going on. And I wanted to be a part of my son's education. And my profession, I was a teacher for 6 years. I've been a clinical psychologist and therapist for about 20 years, and a parent for 8. In that time, I've come in contact with a lot of different school districts and seen a lot of dysfunction. So I had no idea what I was going to come in contact with. I came in fairly skeptical, and what I found really surprised me. I found people that really cared, people that cared about the district, cared about making connections with families. Probably most importantly, though, I saw people that really cared about the students, and that meant a lot to me as a father. Sending my young son onto the bus for the first time. I still remember the anxiety there. And so my agenda, I guess, changed a bit. Rather than looking for a lot of the cracks and flaws, it was more about how can we preserve what we have and grow it. Because one of the things that I do know is that all of these things are fragile. It's like Jenga. You pull one piece out and the whole thing crumbles. We have something very special in Denville, but we have to guard it. And as Mr. Lure had mentioned, there are a lot of challenges that we face, and I really feel strongly that we can, weather all those difficulties and still keep what's really special.
Thank you very much. I'm now going to read Christina Astorino's statement. She's an absent candidate for one of the two open seats on the school board. And what I'm going to read reflects only on her and is not the opinion of the League of Women Voters. She says, "Good evening. I am sorry that I could not be in attendance tonight, virtual or otherwise, but I had a previously scheduled engagement. It is very encouraging to know how many of you are viewing this forum as a means to pursue your interest in being educated voters, and I am thankful for that. My name is Christina Astorino. I have lived in Denville since 2012 and moved here just as my oldest turned 4. He is currently a freshman at Votech. My other son is a 7th grader at Valley View, and my daughter is in 1st grade at Riverview. I am the current vice president of the PTA at Valley View, as well as the co-vice president of the PTA at Riverview. I am heavily involved in the 2 schools, chairing multiple committees and activities. I spent 15 years as a high school English teacher, as well as a curriculum writer, and hold a master's degree in educational administration. Even though I am not in the classroom anymore, I have found ways to incorporate myself into the Denville educational system in these various ways. I genuinely believe that my role is that of service to our district. Our children's experience in education defines so much of who they are and who they become. I also feel that my involvement has given me the vantage point of being in constant communication with parents, teachers, and working staff in the schools. I always appreciate and welcome the opportunity to listen to concerns and engage in discussions surrounding communication, needs, resources, and concerns from all those invested in our system. I prioritize student well-being and character. I know very well the perspective of parent, but also intend to provide a voice for our teachers. I am knowledgeable of the changes and growth that is Denville, and I believe that I can be an asset as we move through these challenges and look to meet our students' needs. Thank you. Okay, so now we'll go to our first question, which will duplicate some of the observations you've made in your opening, but hopefully you can expand on them a little. So our first question, and we'll start with Mr. Moore. Why are you running for election, and what will be your top priorities as a school board member?
Well, I'm running for to really continue to work with the board in preserving what we have. I believe we have something that's unique and special. I have a pretty good handle on a lot of the school districts in the area, and it's unique. But we do but every school district faces issues. It comes down to money and resources and space. And the challenge is not to succumb to those pressures and, weaken what we have, water down what we have, begin to ask questions about how little we can get away with. I love that we always ask, what can we do for the student? What can we do for the family? And we make it work. And I want to continue to see that, to have our bar continue to be high as we face the challenges that we face.
Thank you. And Mr. Lure, the same question. Why are you running for election, and what would be your top priorities as a school board member?
I am running for election because I have a child in the district still, and I feel that I need to be able to help guide the school district in the direction that it should be going. My top priorities I mentioned in my opening statement. We have to deal with the building. We have to deal with the buildings problem, the upcoming lack of space, and we have to deal with the busing problem, which has been constant for 5 years or so. And we have to do it all under budget. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so yes, your comments are making me see some of our questions that'll move up in the order here. But I'll go ahead here with our second question, and we'll start with you, Mr. Lure. And maybe you can be specific here about the major challenges and/or issues facing the Denville School District.
Okay. The first one is the building issue, in my opinion. We have a lot of development that is either just happened, is happening, or is coming down the road, and we are soon to, even with renting out the second story of the Riverview Annex, we are soon going to run out of space. We're paying something like, at least when I was last on the school board, I believe it was $550,000 a year to rent it. And if we continue to do that for another 5 years, we'll have put out $2.5 million, $3 million and still have the same problem. So we need to figure out a solution and we need to move forward.
Okay, thank you. And Mr. Moore.
Yeah. I agree with Mr. Lure that space is becoming an issue. It's certainly constantly on the radar and constantly something that we're reviewing and talking about as new developments come up. It could potentially cause more and more of a strain. Finances are an issue. Healthcare costs are going to go up somewhere around $250,000 this year. That's huge for a small town budget. So these are challenges, money and space. And in terms of the transportation, having the drivers that we need are huge hurdles that we have to figure out.
Thank you very much. Okay, so now we'll go to our third question, and we'll start with you, Mr. Moore. And it's pretty straightforward. What financial expertise would you or do you bring to your work as a member of the school board?
Well, probably not a lot of financial expertise. I mean, I rely heavily on the experience of our business administrator, who I consider to be fairly brilliant. I mean, I run my own business, but I don't think that really compares to running a district. I'm a one-person operation. So I wouldn't say that what I bring to the table is necessarily financial acumen. I think I bring reason and a unique viewpoint, as do a lot of the other members of the board. And I think that's what's valuable, is that we each bring unique experiences to the table, trainings and understanding. And as we collaborate together, it's those different viewpoints that really help us to find a common solution to the problems that we face.
Okay, thank you. And Mr. Lure, what financial expertise would you bring to a place on the school board?
I have been managing projects as a geologist for the last dozen years or so, ranging from small budgets of $15,000 going up to $7 to $10 million. I'd like to think that that would help me a fair bit, and it also doesn't hurt that I was on the finance committee my last term on the school board for, I think it was 2 or 3 years. I don't remember the exact number. So I have some experience in the area. As Mr. Moore said, we lean very heavily on Mr. Maris and the rest of the budgeting committee in the administration because they are very good at what they do. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and now we're going to go back to the question of classroom space, and we'll be starting with you, Mr. Lure. Earlier this year, the school district renewed its lease for classroom space at St. Mary's and purchased 3 acres of land in anticipation of possible expansion. What do you think the district should do to address its current and future needs for classroom space?
I believe that the district should simultaneously examine the possibilities of building a new school in the Nicole Avenue property, and also look into again expanding Riverview. Back in, I think it was 2019 or early 2020, we actually priced out putting an 8 classroom addition on Riverview. And it was at that time, it was going to be something like $7 million because of the addition. We also would have had to have added an elevator to accommodate the ADA Act. We have to look at it, figure out exactly how much room we're going to need, and find out if an addition to Riverview or a whole new school is the way to go, keeping in mind that a whole new school has a lot more administrative costs associated with it, not just the building costs.
Okay, thank you. And the same question for you, Mr. Moore, about how to address the current and future needs for classroom space.
Yeah, I think it's closely monitoring the population increase. There was a recent population study that was done, and there's talk about having another one. The numbers seem to be following along those projections pretty closely, and looking at what we'll need. Currently, we have access to the second floor of the annex, and we don't need it yet. And it looks like in the near future we won't be needing to use it. So we have some space here to try and figure out what we need to do. I mean, it would be great if we had, infinite wealth and we could just build a new school, but that's what we're looking at as a possibility as well. Is the reason we purchased that land, and we're looking at feasibility studies and trying to figure out if that's a viable option or a necessary option. At this point, it's unclear, but the real answer is to keep looking at the numbers closely to make sure that we're prepared for the eventualities that are there.
Thank you.
Ms. Platt, if I might have as I understand the rules correctly, I'm allowed a rebuttal.
Yes.
Okay.
And that's going to be 30 seconds. And yes, please go ahead.
Okay. I understand, Mr. Moore, that we need to do further study, but every time we renew the lease, it's another 5 years, and that's somewhere between $2.5 to $3 million. We need to pull the trigger in the next couple of years because it's going to take 3 years to get the permitting, plans, development, and do the actual construction. We aren't on unlimited time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Now, this next question, we're still on money and financing the district, and somebody a member of the public is concerned about running a school referendum and then spending that money. So we'll be starting with Mr. Moore with this question. No, we won't. We'll be starting with Mr. Lure with this question. Mr. Lure will be starting. And it's a question about spending. What is your position about how referendum funds should be used? For example, should they be used for capital expenditures or may they be used for ongoing expenses?
I am of the opinion that they should be used for capital expenditures, but the Denville School District is fortunate that over the vast majority of the time it's been around, it has been run by people who kept the budget in mind. Uh, we don't have any debt, and we don't have to use referendum funds for maintenance or operating expenses. We could, if we end up going to a referendum, which we'll probably have to do, I would think that 100% of that money would be put towards run building whatever building we decide to go with. Mr. Moore may be better informed as to what debt we may be carrying than I am. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to read the question again for you, Mr. Moore. What is your position on how Denville referendum funds should be used? For example, should they be used for capital expenditures or may they be used for ongoing expenses?
Yeah, we don't currently, there's no outstanding referendum money that I'm aware of. And when we go to referendum, it's a fairly specific question, and those funds would go toward that specific endeavor. And the only thing I could foresee us at the moment doing a referendum for, I mean, I guess things could change, but would be if we were to do a significant expansion or build a new building, in which case it would be laid out pretty clear where those funds would be going. But currently there's no referendum out there.
Okay, good, thank you. Okay, so now we'll go on to our next question. And Mr. Moore, you'll be going first on this one. And this is about busing and money. The Denville district was awarded for a $400,000 grant to invest in electric-powered school bus technology, but as of September was unsure whether to accept the funds because of the added investment that will be needed to operate and maintain the buses. What is your understanding of this situation? And does the district have an obligation to lead by example to address climate change?
Yeah, we really wanted to do it. It just wasn't feasible. The numbers I believe we got just to build a charging station was somewhere around 250,000, I think. It was extraordinarily expensive. And you know, there were other factors involved. That grant didn't cover the entire cost of the bus. When it was said and done, it just would have cost way too much money for a single bus that we're only allowed to use for a period of time. It just didn't make sense. It's something that we really tried to work hard to make work. It's something we wanted to do. It just didn't make sense on paper at all.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to read the question again for you, Mr. Lure, because it's kind of lengthy. The Denville district was awarded $400,000 grant to invest in electric-powered school bus technology, but as of September was unsure whether to accept because of the added investment that would be needed to operate and maintain the buses. What is your understanding of this situation? And does the district have an obligation to lead by example to address climate change?
I am not as familiar with this as Mr. Moore is, considering, you know, I haven't been on the school board for 3 years. My experience back when I was on the school board was that the electric buses cost more than twice what a regular bus cost. And that did not include the cost of the charging station, as Mr. Moore mentioned. I don't think that the school district has any particular obligation to lead the way on climate change. But I think if we can do so without an excessive extra cost, it's something to look into.
Okay, thank you. We'll now go to our next question, and you, Mr. Lure, will be going first on this question. What steps would you put in place to ensure that there is a safe and accepting learning environment for our children, free from bullying, intimidation, harassment, and violence?
I would like to be able to say that we don't need to put anything in place because our current setup works exactly how it's supposed to. I have heard enough stories from various parents and from my own kids that that is not the case. The basic problem is far too complicated to go into in a 2 minute back and forth debate. But the biggest issue that I would try to look into and see what could be done to solve it is the fact that the kids themselves frequently don't want to report it because, and this is a direct quote, nothing ever happens, and then they get bullied further for having reported it.
Okay, thank you. We'll now go to you, Mr. Moore, and I'm going to read the question again. What steps would you put in place, or have you put in place, to ensure that there is a safe and accepting learning environment for our children, free from bullying, intimidation, harassment, and violence?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is not coming up with anything extraordinarily new, but trying to make what's already there work and work better. I'm a huge advocate of involving families, working with families, and the more that we can do that, and the more we can make it safer for kids to be able to share what's going on. I love the character education that's involved in our schools, and just the different acronyms that we have that sort of try to focus a lot on character and being good people. And I would just want to keep like drilling that in and finding ways to help kids to get in touch with what it means to be a good person and a good friend, and really try and make that the model of behavior.
Okay, thank you. We'll now go to the next question, and we'll be starting with you, Mr. Moore. And it's kind of two parts, but it's about the curriculum. What is the role of a school board member in setting Denville's curriculum? And what is an appropriate response from a school board member when a parent or community member has a concern about the curriculum? So what does a school board member do, and how do they respond?
Yeah, I think Denville School Board is probably a little healthier than most in that we don't try and micromanage. We have a really great assistant superintendent that handles a lot of the curriculum, and she presents that to us, and we lean a lot on her expertise. I've heard from her personally that she's very open to hearing from families and the public, and that's been my experience. So I think that if a parent has some concerns, that we would listen and try and address them as best we could. I haven't gotten a sense that there's an antagonistic relationship between families in the town and the board or the administration. And if there were, then I would want to hear about it, and that would be a place where I think it would be the responsibility of the board to step in and rectify.
Okay, thank you. And the same question for you, Mr. Lure. What is the role of a school board member in setting Denville's curriculum? And what is an appropriate response from a school board member when a parent or community member has a concern about the curriculum?
I'd like to build on what Mr. Moore said. He is entirely correct that we have a very strong administrative team who are very good at dealing with questions like this. To be more specific, once a policy or the curriculum uh, has been suggested to be changed, it goes to our curriculum committee, who spends a lot of time reviewing the proposed changes, and then they give the proposed changes to the board as a whole. The board then votes on them. Anything that an individual parent would like to see changed, added, subtracted, whatever, should be directed to our assistant superintendent, Dr. Cullis.
Okay, thank you. Okay, and here's our next question, and we'll be starting with you, Mr. Lure. What is your position on New Jersey's Freedom to Read Act currently being considered by the legislature? This legislation would, among other things, establish requirements for library material in public school libraries and protect school library media specialists and librarians from harassment.
I am afraid that I have not had the opportunity to read that yet, so I am unable to take a position on it. However, you can rest assured that I will read it by tomorrow, and anybody is free to email me at my. Oh, am I allowed to talk about that?
You won't promote your candidacy at this point. I was a little remiss. Oh, your time is going on.
Yeah, I just wanted to know if I could give my the email address so people could talk to me, but if that's not something I can do, then I won't.
You're welcome to do that at the conclusion.
Okay.
And I was a little remiss before we take this question to Mr. Moore. I was a little remiss, and you'll want to jot this down. The New Jersey Freedom to Read Act, which has been passed from committee in both the Assembly and the Senate, it's A 2446 and S 2421. And so now we'll go to Mr. Moore. What is your position on New Jersey's Freedom to Read Act currently being considered by the legislature? This legislation would, among other things, establish requirements for library material in public school libraries and protect school library media specialists and librarians from harassment.
I'm equally unfamiliar with this particular act. As Mr. Lure said, I'd be happy to field questions about it later. I will say this again. I really appreciate that Denville has managed to stay away from a lot of the political infighting that's gone on in other districts, and I trust Dr. Cullis and her team to make really good decisions regarding the school libraries in conjunction with working with families. So just like any of the other legislature, I'm sure that Denville can navigate that in a way that makes sense to everyone. But again, I'd be happy to take a look at it, and people can reach out to me if they have questions about it after this debate.
Definitely. And some public school libraries and librarians in New Jersey have experienced problems in the area of reading materials, which I guess is why this legislation was introduced. Anyway, we'll now move on to threat assessment. And I'm just checking the time here. Oh, it's early. Okay. So the next question, and we'll be starting here with you, Mr. Moore. In 2022, a New Jersey law was signed that requires every school in the state to implement threat assessment teams to prevent violence on campus proactively. What are your views on this state mandate requiring schools to create formal threat assessment teams?
I don't have any any issue with it. I don't know. I'm not sure what the downside to having people look at possible threats would be. I mean, we have a pretty good team in Denville. The superintendent works very closely with the chief of police. We have those threat assessment teams set up, class 3 officers. We, you know, it makes sense to me to want to keep our schools as safe as possible within reason. So I don't have any issue with that.
Okay, thank you. And the same question for you, Mr. Lure. And let me know if you want me to repeat it.
Would you be so kind?
Sure. In
Thank you.
2022, a law was signed in New Jersey that requires every school in the state to implement threat assessment teams to prevent violence on campus proactively. What are your views on this state mandate requiring schools to create formal threat assessment teams?
I haven't been particularly familiar with this. I think we are fortunate in Denville that the threats that we have faced in the past are relatively low key. For the people who have been threatened, of course, they're not. But I think it's probably one of those state mandates that comes down. The state tells us we have to do it, and then they don't give us any money to implement it. So what's probably happened is that someone who has been doing another job has had it added on to what they've already been doing. That being said, our superintendent has worked very closely with both our current chief of police and our previous chief of police, and has done a very good job of hardening the schools and setting up surveillance and other assorted things to keep stuff from happening. Sorry, I got thrown off by the stop sign.
It's okay. It's a little strong. Okay, we'll now go to our next question, and we'll be starting with you, Mr. Lure. And this is question 11. Yeah, it's kind of interesting. There is a statewide and I believe national shortage of teachers. Please tell us how this shortage is impacting Denville public schools and what remedies are being considered. If you know, or if you're just running for the office, what you would like to consider. And yes, that's you, Mr. Lure.
In a perfect world, to attract the best teachers, we simply throw more money on the table. But given the budgetary constraints and all the other issues we have, we can't really do that. I feel that the district has done a pretty good job of making our town and our district a good place to work, and that the better teachers like to stay because they because of the job satisfaction. I would try to work harder to make that happen. And on a personal note, my younger daughter is looking at becoming a teacher, so hopefully that'll help a little bit.
Okay, thank you. And now, Mr. Moore, the same question to you. How is the teacher shortage impacting Denville public schools, and what remedies are being considered?
Yeah, I think it impacts some of those more specialty areas like the math and sciences and a few others that I'm aware of more heavily, and I've seen the administration come up with some pretty creative workarounds. But I agree with Mr. Lure again that I think the only strategy that we have is the hope of making Denville attractive, and it clearly is, because there are teachers that choose lower salaries to come here and stay here. The administration is very supportive of the teachers in this district, which again is different from many districts. I think from the top on down, And I believe that they are, and we are working hard to make it a place that is worth going to. There are things that matter more to some people than money, and having an environment that feels supportive and fulfilling is one of them.
Okay, thank you. We have just two more questions remaining. And both of them are sort of about diversity. New Jersey school districts are diverse in many ways, with numerous racial groups, ethnic groups, LGBTQ students and families. How well are Denville public schools performing in this arena? And we'll start, we'll start with you, Mr. Moore.
I'm sorry, how well are we performing?
Are you, okay, so New Jersey school districts are diverse in so many ways with numerous groups. How well are Denville public schools performing in supporting diversity?
In supporting diversity? Well, I hope that we're doing a good job. There's always room for improvement. I think that's often on the table for us. It's worded, Dr. Cullis. I kind of steal her line often. Is she says that she wants the schools to be kind and welcoming, and that's hopefully what we're working toward around every corner and in various ways is to really be kind and welcoming, to teach people and to set the example that we're kind to everyone. There's people and families that look different, but we that's all that is a difference, and we can learn to appreciate and love differences. And I think that's the everything I'm getting back from the administration that I can hear is that is their heart, to be kind and welcoming to everyone. So.
Thank you. And Mr. Lure, the same question. Do you want me to repeat it as best I can?
If you would be so kind. Thank you.
New Jersey's public school districts are diverse in so many ways, with numerous racial groups, ethnic groups, and LGBTQ students and families. How well are Denville public schools performing in this arena?
The last time I remember seeing the diversity numbers was, I think, in late 21 when I was still on the school board. The vast majority of the teachers were white women. Men were very underrepresented, and I think minorities were underrepresented according to New Jersey population. When compared to the population of the town, it was much closer. While diversity is in and of itself a laudable goal, it is my opinion that we should be basing our hiring on the abilities of the teachers to teach the kids. I would much rather have a less diverse group that was a group of better teachers than a more diverse group and the students suffer for it.
Okay.
So the hiring process should consider diversity as a secondary characteristic, not a primary characteristic.
Thank you. We'll now go to our last question, and you, Mr. Lure, will be going first on this question, and this comes from the public. Do you think K through 12 students should be allowed to compete on athletic teams of their choice, regardless of their gender?
Up to a certain point, yes. Fortunately, for the Denville School District, we only go up through 8th grade. So where the kids start to become physiologically much different is towards the end of their time in the district. I think there are issues with having boys and girls competing on the same teams in like contact sports once they are past the age of puberty, because men can become so much bigger and stronger than women. Uh, that's not to say there aren't women who are big and strong, uh, but in general, it's not a good idea after a certain point.
Okay, thank you. And and now to Mr. Moore. Do you think K through 12 students should be allowed to compete on athletic teams of their choice, regardless of their gender?
Well, we are a K through 8 district. I'll try and answer it in the spirit of the question anyway. I think it's pretty varied. I like the way our district handles things. I can't imagine, though I could be wrong, that it would handle it in a policy oriented way. It would be more a case by case basis. If a child wanted to participate in a sport that was typically only open to men, and she made a case for it, I would imagine that we would, and the family made a case for it, we'd be open to that. I don't think these kinds of things are open and shut. They're discussions. Let's work with the families. Let's work with folks and see. And of course, if it's already a co-ed sport, I guess it doesn't really matter.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, we've put quite a lot of pressure on just having two candidates here to be faced with a barrage of questions, which would take a bigger forum and another hour to work through, but we appreciate your efforts here. And now we're going to move on to your 2-minute closing statements. And this is where you can advocate for yourself and tell the public what to log on to and what not. As I said, this will be a 2-minute closing statement, and we're going to go in the same order that we went before, because if that will give Mr. Moore the last word. So your closing statement can begin, Mr. Lure.
Well, as I have stated several times tonight, we have some problems facing the district, mostly associated with the 3 Bs: budget, buildings, and buses. You have heard my opinions on these things tonight, and what can I say? Vote for me. If anybody wishes to reach out to me to discuss anything I've said tonight, or in a day or two to ask me about the Freedom to Read Act, please email me at Dave, the number 4, BOE at gmail.com. That's my campaign email address, and you can also find that on if you Google the Morris County Morris County clerk's office. They have that information. Thank you very much.
Okay, and your closing statement, Mr. Moore.
Yeah, I just want to say that I know that there are difficulties and challenges in Denville, but I really believe that what we have is special and it's worth really fighting for. We're always going to have Every school is always going to have stressors, and it's usually going to be population, staffing, and money. And the real issue is what standards we hold and how hard we hold to them to make sure that things don't kind of slip away and kind of degenerate. I was a teacher for 6 years. I'm a parent, and I've been trained as a clinical psychologist and been a therapist. And I think it gives me a unique voice. I think that voice has been valued on the board, and I'd like to continue to offer my perspective and continue to be able to protect and help this district continue to be and grow even better. I've just seen so many other districts, and there's some real unique qualities here, and it comes down to the people that are involved. And I want to just make sure that my child and everyone's children have a great environment. I mean, my whole career has been about helping people and believing that there is a solution for everyone. So I really hold that as a value and a standard. I can be reached, let's see, Facebook and Clifford Moore Denville at gmail.com. You can find me any sort of way on the street too, I suppose. And I'd be happy to answer any other questions that you may have. And I've considered it a privilege. And as I said, it was a surprise to me. I see the big red stop, so I'll stop rambling. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, that
If I may, I'd like to thank everybody who participated, who helped put this on tonight. Yourself, Miss Moderator, and all the other people who were on speaking earlier, and our timekeeper, and my opponents as well.
And I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to thank our two candidates, Clifford Moore and David H.F. Luer, for participating in this online forum. I'm going to thank our co-sponsors, the Morristown Alumni Chapter of the Delta Sigma Theta Sorority, Inc., and the Daily Record for their nonpartisan participation and support. We thank our candidates, we thank our timekeeper, Nancy Hedinger, and we thank the many volunteers who helped make this evening possible. Thank you, the audience now, and those watching later, for being active participants in our precious democratic process. And a final reminder, there are 3 ways now in New Jersey that you can vote. You will vote by mail if you signed up to receive that ballot. New Jersey now has 9 days of early in-person voting on a voting machine. That begins Saturday, October 26th and runs through Sunday, November 3rd. And Denville Township's early voting site is at 1 St. Mary's Place. And for those of you who like the thrill of Election Day, you can vote in person on Tuesday, November the 5th at the polling place indicated on your sample ballot. The polls will be open from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. And any other voting details or assistance you need, please visit the League's national and acclaimed voter assistance website, which is www.vote411.org. And with that, I thank you, the viewers, you, the candidates, and our whole team, and wish you a